Ron, the UAE is as vulnerable to cyber attacks as anywhere else. What do you see as the priority cybersecurity concerns in the UAE that can be solved with the help of Israeli cyber expertise?
Great question. I generally believe there's about three primary challenges today that are front and center. The first one is the exponential development and deployment of IoT devices. These are anywhere from doorbells, cameras, air conditioners, single-purpose robots in factories, many more. Those devices are very much compromisable. They're not designed with security inside, and yet they become super important for companies to deploy and use in order to advance their services. We have a couple companies in Israel that are now focused on this specific problem. One of them, NanoLock, helps lock down and tighten those products so that they can't be compromised from the outside. And a second company, IXDen, is actually creating a biometric fingerprint around those devices so that you know the device that's talking to you and sharing this information. Very important ideas. Another major trend, and I think this is a very important one, is that globally we have a very big challenge in terms of the number of qualified cybersecurity experts. Every company needs some form of cybersecurity expertise and support, people who can respond to incidents, people who can solve the problems, analysts. The problem is if you don't have enough of these experts, then you need products that are going to actually prevent the issues rather than simply report them. Cybersecurity for years has been about reporting issues. Now, because we don't have enough people to respond, we need products to actually take care of those. Morphisec came up with a brilliant idea several years ago that prevents the attacker from changing code and allowing that code to load. So even if malware were to reach the endpoint device, it wouldn't be able to run. So these are important products. These are preventative technologies that are allowing us to move forward. And finally, the demand for protecting our confidential information, our confidential data, our customer data is intense. We hear it from all corners. And it is very important that we find ways to, number one, make sure that we're not violating the privacy rules and regulations. And number two, making sure we don't allow this data to leave our control because we're responsible for it. Two really interesting companies that are doing some amazing work in this area. One of them around the privacy of images of your face and facial recognition, which has been in the news, called DID, de-identification. And another one that's helping us with preventing data loss, and that's called It's Mine.
So the UAE is a sophisticated market, and there are already many global players active there and in the region as a whole. So what can small Israeli startups offer the UAE that companies and public bodies don't already have from these major multinationals?
That's a really interesting question, because I think in some way Israel has become a shopping mall for multinationals seeking really the most innovative and creative technologies to solve cybersecurity problems today. We are certainly a cybersecurity powerhouse, and our entrepreneurs are raising flags and imagining solutions around cybersecurity challenges and threats very, very early. Their nimbleness is remarkable in comparison to how slow-moving most multinationals really are. And the reason that they're able to deliver these products and good products to the market so quickly is because they love working with early adopters. When you're a hospital system, when you're a banking system, when you're able to access this technology quickly and work hands-on with the product developers, this makes the relationship tight, and it makes the products that are being created accessible, flexible, and attractive. And this tweaking and fine-tuning, working with you as an enterprise to satisfy your needs, that's available from entrepreneurs who understand the need to get inputs from these very large corporations. Again, banks, hospital systems, other financial services, manufacturing companies. There's really no end. And once these companies become relevant, the multinationals come in and actually swoop them up. A great example of this was a wonderful portfolio company, a company that was in our portfolio at least until earlier this year when Microsoft came and swooped them up, CyberX Labs, dealing with one of the very difficult problems in operational technology cybersecurity. This is cybersecurity that was part of the critical infrastructure in manufacturing sectors. So there's a lot of areas, a lot of industry groups that we can get into. And again, entrepreneurs who are excited to work hands-on with customers. The scale of many of the UAE companies are significantly larger than the scale of the local industry equivalents here in Israel. And I think it's very exciting that we'll have an opportunity to work hands-on with some of the most important companies in the UAE.
Thank you, Ron.